Hello. How are we all doing? I didn't have time to sort out the track before we started because I got in about an hour ago from the pool, so my hair is all chloriney and bad. So I was just wolfing down some spare curry. For the record, that it says La Curry in the fucking header thing is a typo. I'm not a weird Reddit nerd. It was a mistake. Don't bring it up. And yeah, so we're here to do a bit of streaming. I might take off my cardigan because it's a bit warm in here. Yeah, how are we all doing? I guess we could start with the wine, I guess. Hello, Pinko Punko, how are we doing today? Nice to see you. Let me just move my screens a bit so that things are a bit nicer. There we go. Got some fucking Arcade Fire style thing happening in the background here. Yeah, how is everyone? We all doing well, we all doing good, we all happy, we all content. What's the wine tonight? I'm so glad you asked because we're about to embark on a journey. I can't remember if I've had this one before, but it was £5 on deal. So this might be a bad one for the ages. £5 in Sainsbury's. Because if it was £5 from Lidl and Aldi, it'd probably be great. Some of the £3 wines in Lidl and Aldi are pretty good. But, you know, Phantom River, Sauvignon Blanc, Chile. A Chile wine. You know, maybe it'll be good. We can hope. What's the description? What's the percentage? 12.5%. Nice. It's written in fucking cursive. Named after this mysterious sighting, Phantom River Sauvignon Blanc has enticing aromas. I'll be the judge of that, I'm afraid. Enticing aromas of citrus followed by a crisp, concentrated flavour. Now, I am no sommelier. I don't know if concentrated is what people generally go for wine. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But it's concentrated flavour. Concentrated tropical fruits and hints of lime. See, now we're doubling up on citrus. This is a mess. Whoever did the copy editing for this. Leaving a long, lingering finish. Perfect with smoked salmon, lobster dishes, or even a Caesar salad. That's nice for us vegetarians. I can't eat lobster, even when I wasn't a vegetarian, because it turns out I'm massively intolerant to shellfish. And for a while I did not want that to be true, because when I still ate seafood, I really liked mussels, things like that. But it took me about 3 or 4 times of violently puking my guts out before I was like, yeah, I probably can't eat this stuff. This is probably not for John. Not anymore. Alright, let's give it a wee taste. I've got myself an actual glass today as well. Not like a glass with a stem and everything. Treating myself. Whoops. Hello Altair, how we doing? I'm really. I've forgotten what the description is. Citrusy notes. See, notice. So this week I sent in my full draft of my PhD to my supervisor. So we're getting one step closer to it being Dr. John the Duncan, and as such, moving up in the world. And as such, we're treating ourselves to a glass with a stem today. That's how we know. I'm moving up in the world. Moving on up, nothing can stop me. It's not bad. What a surprise. It's quite nice. Well, it's not bad. Yeah, that's very drinkable. Stembro now, exactly, Devil. Yeah, that's very drinkable. What a pleasant surprise. I already treated myself the other night after I'd submitted it to the last of some Talisker whiskey I got for my birthday, I think, way last May, that I've been saving for this. So I treated myself to that on Wednesday night after my supervisor had taken me out for a wee like ramen dinner, which was very nice of him. So we've had the proper celebration. This is just an excuse for me to have a stemmed wine glass. Hooray for the non-bad beverage, exactly. Yeah, so not really, again, as ever, there's no solid plan for today, as ever. Talk about shit that comes up. A couple of TV shows I watched that annoyed me a little bit. I think I'm gonna talk. My plans for the next video have changed. No videos are being dropped, but I'm pushing the effective altruism video to one after this one at least, because I want to do a bit more research before I put it out. Basically, and between then I'm going to do a more blog style video about transphobia on the far right, because basically some sort of reflecting on was at a counter protest the other week and was just amazed by the way that transphobia is being utilized as an umbrella to bring together a bunch of diverse and often contradicting far-right tendencies under one transphobic umbrella, which is scary and not good. And I feel like, if anyone, I've posted about this on Twitter and TikTok already, so if anyone's seen my rants there, you already know, but like the way that it's sort of sometimes being reported is quite, very, this is a culture war issue, this isn't a real thing, this is just people dividing you and emotional reactions. It's like that. I think Nazis on the street is not some ephemeral issue. This is a real fucking deal, but I think that's worth talking about. But it'll be a shorter style video, but something I think that's worth talking about in the meantime before I get to my effective altruism video. And I still need to buy a fake tongue for that video, because I have a wee joke that I'm gonna make and I'm quite smug about at the start of the effective altruism video. So I need to buy a fake tongue for that. So yeah, that's the plans. Hiya, Critical Revolt. Yeah, more like the housing and education videos. And I noticed the original plan for that sort of thing was to provide a bit more time to work on the bigger videos, to do the research and everything. And I found myself when I was trying to fit in getting the research done for the EA video, panicking about not being able to get a video out this month. And I was like, no, this is exactly where we got to a few, like last year before. We need to do something else. We need to do something that doesn't require as massive a research burden to put together. So we're going to do that. There will still be a research burden because I have a condition that stops me from being able to just shoot a video off. There will be some research done for it, but we'll be doing more in that sort of housing education style videos, and then hopefully the EA video in April. Though of course April will be the full submission of the PhD. So again, I might end up getting pushed, which I would be a shame, but I'll try. And I also have a conference in April, which I might end up using the conference paper for a video as well. So we'll see how it goes. But the EA one is on the burner, and the research is annoying me because I think as I'm reading William McCaskill's work, that it is so bad, like worse than I thought it would be. And I need more time to justify why I think it's so bad. And also to make sure that I watched Abby's video. Hello Tinfoil, how you doing? Watched Abby's video, which I was lucky enough to provide a voice for, and want to make sure that I'm adding a bit more to it, to like making sure my voice is valid or worthy of being heard in the context of one of the biggest YouTubers already making a video about EA, which I think is the case. I think there's plenty more to say about EA that wasn't covered in Abby's video, and I will also be being not quite as kind as Abby was, because I'm a bit of a dick sometimes, especially to fucking theoretical works which, in my view, have very little going for them. So yeah, that'll be the plan going forward. Yeah. And as ever, any questions or anything that anyone wants to talk about, beef the effective altruism people. You know. Yeah. I was like hanging around. I'd missed a lot of the time. Like I used to, especially when lockdown was on. Catch more of Abby's post video streams, and I decided to watch the one for the effective altruism video because I was in it, and I was like, yeah, might as well hang around. And she mentioned how the effective altruism forum was actually very kind and very open-minded, and I was like, oh man, if they come across my video, I don't think they're gonna be kind, because I'm not gonna be. Or at least maybe I will come across more work in effective altruism that isn't like William McCaskill's, which at this point seems like superficial appeals to the maintenance of the status quo via deeply colonialist, capitalist epistemologies, which remain unquestioned, and have a intellectual tradition going from Descartes through liberalism, through the neoliberals, and through a bunch of eugenics. So yeah, unless there's anything else that dispels that impression, I'm not going to be particularly kind. Any wine recommendations? Oh, I don't know if you want my wine recommendations. Oh man, yeah, I don't the UCU stuff. So I don't know enough about the internal, for anyone who, okay, I'll return to the UCU stuff in a second. Wine recommendations, I don't know if you want my wine recommendations. I don't remember any wine that I've ever drunk. Even if I've drank it more than once, I don't remember what it tastes like. And my strategy with wine is what is on discount, and let's take a punt. Let's see what happens. I do like a red wine more than a white, but they are starting to give me some real bad hangovers these days. The late 20s hangovers have started, especially with red wine, and I become unable to function. So white wine is where I'm going for more these days. I almost picked up a rosé today. I was like, oh, maybe I'll get a rosé. I've not had a rosé in a long time. But then they were all like £8, and I was like, I'm not gonna get a rosé. Not for £8. I used to drink rosé for £2 a bottle. I'm not gonna buy an £8 rosé. Who do you think you are, Sainsbury's? Come on. A rosé for free. That's nice. I had some free wine the other night as well. Was at a university event. Like the day I submitted that PhD draft. Like 10 minutes after I'd submitted that PhD draft, and was quaffing some free white wine that was not as good as this. Despite the fact I absolutely know for a fact that it would have been expensive for the university to buy. Mid-30s and still haven't had a hangover. I think it's just my superpower. Can't keep the red wine down though, so with great power, I guess. Yeah, not gonna lie. I would abandon red wine if it meant I would never have a hangover, so jealousy is rampant over here. Yeah. Red wine gives hangovers even if you don't have it. Even if you don't have much, it's a shame. Yeah, me too. Couple of glasses of red wine, even like not even close to being drunk. We're having a bit much. Next day I'm not feeling great. It's unfortunate. 'Cause I do like a red wine. They also make my lips turn red for like 2 days afterwards, which is not helpful if you're doing any midweek drinking and you have work the next day. You turn up looking like a vampire who's just helped himself to a midnight snack. Yeah, what I'm gonna do. I'm going to make a new song, put on a new loop, and then folk can come up with some topics, any questions. Still, like for anyone who doesn't know, £10 patrons of mine, like I say, like pick a topic on stream and I'll talk about it. Not one person has taken me up on that, which, you know, it's less work for me, but but still, it's like, you know, it's there. So you know, any questions or any topics you'd like to talk about, and we'll do that. I've also got, you know, chat a bit about music that I went to see Young Fathers and Kapil Seshasai last week. That was fun. And watched a couple of TV shows that I think is going to be relevant to some of the video stuff. So yeah, let's make a new track. There we go. Some fucking 80s synthwave stuff. I don't know where it came from. Thank you, Davil. I appreciate that. I generally just sort of I wander through doing the music stuff because I think it's quite fun, and I like an excuse to play music. And I don't get enough time to do it, aside from doing a lot of time doing these streams. So yeah, I appreciate it. Glad that you like it. What are my thoughts on communization? I'm afraid I don't know anything about that theory or the author that you're referring to. You'd have to give me some like some examples before I could give you an answer. I do recognize the irony of asking for questions, and then when people ask the questions, be like, yeah, I don't know anything about that. I'm sorry. I do realize the irony in that. Yeah, I'm afraid I don't know anything about what specifically it is that you're referring to. I like that. Thank you. Sorry, what was that name? Carried Francis. Yeah, that's nice to hear. Trying to learn to live in the moment and look something nice in the near future can be difficult and impossible some days, but these streams are definitely something nice to look forward to. Well, that's lovely. Thank you, Critical Report. That's really nice. I appreciate that. Just here to chill with good people. We like to see that. Sorry, might as well chat about. Yeah, last week I had a good week for music. Saw Young Fathers live. First time I've ever seen them live at the Roundhouse, and fuck me, what a band! Like, some bands when you say like, some bands are like way worse live than their albums, and then some bands are like really good live, but you still prefer to listen to their albums. Young Fathers are definitely a band that is better live, and I love their albums at the same time. Like, their albums are not bad, they're fucking brilliant, but live the music makes so much more sense. The whole like vibe of the whole night was just like, this music is meant to be played live. It's meant to like create this atmosphere of like thumping, and like people just dancing and having a fucking great time. It was honestly so good. One of the best gigs I've ever been to. Which one annoying thing that happened that night. Same thing happens at any standing gig that I go to, because I'm quite a tall person. People get upset when I stand near them in gigs, and there's like nothing I can do about it. If I move somewhere else, someone else's view is going to be blocked. Just happens. You have to deal with it. But this person was really, really mad and kept like pushing my back the whole time, and then being like, "You need to stop dancing. You're dancing too much." And the music, and I was like the few times that night, and I just had to turn around to him and say, "Look, have you listened to the music? I had to tell him to calm down, calm the fuck down." Because the music that was being played is specifically for like the vibe of the crowd was not quiet contemplation. It was a moving crowd, and to be like complaining about people dancing at a Young Fathers gig is something else. But that was one annoying point of an otherwise great night. How tall am I? I'm about 6'4". Yeah, terrible to dance at a concert. It's so strange, and the guy ended up like standing next to me, and he was just stood stock still the whole time. So it's like what are you even doing there? I get that, but 5'4", yeah, that's a worse situation for people to be mad about. 6'6", geez, that's a big height. That's a long distance. yeah, I mean, like, it sucks if I'm standing in front of you, but there's nothing I can do about it. And if you push me forward, I'm just gonna hit the person in front of me. So I don't know what you want from us. You go to a gig, you kind of you have to expect a certain understanding of what you're in for. And it wasn't like we were far out as well. We were like right in the middle of the crowd. So it was just annoying. So much slouch like I've never slouched, yeah. Hello Andy Drew, how is it going? Yeah, and the other gig I went to was my friend Kapil Seshasai, who I've talked about a fair few times on here, because he's brilliant. And, you know, that gig was fucking brilliant as well. And that he was being supported by two people who, whose names I've forgotten because I'm terrible with names. But they were playing like really interesting, like Indian fused with like much more mellow electronic music. Some of it sounded like some sort of like a lot of Radiohead, kind of later Radiohead influences. From like In Bloom album, is that the album In Bloom? The one that came after In Rainbows. King of Limbs, sorry, I think that came after In Rainbows. And there was lots of like that sort of style of electronics going with like sort of Indian music as well, Desi music as well. That was really interesting. And we were supposed to go out that night, but unfortunately my friend got a migraine, so I ended up back home. But that was also a really fucking good gig. Good week for music that week. Two good Scottish bands playing down at the Roundhouse, same location. Which was nice, you know. Nice seeing a friend play a venue like that. And he was having a great time as well. Yeah, good night. It's weird when I hear people online talking about my real life friend's music. Who's your real life friend? And I can imagine that would be weird as well. Yeah, it was great stuff. And so yeah. You know what I also watched this week? This isn't to do with music. We're taking a different route and we're getting into John Complains About a TV Show area. Oh, Kapil. Oh, nice. You know Kapil too. Yeah. Sound. Mutual friends. We're making connections here. We make connections. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so I watched a TV show this week, which was a weird one because it kind of, I enjoyed it, but also found a lot of it deeply annoying. And I think some of it is, I'm gonna use some of it in the EA video. And that's, has anyone seen the show Hollywood? Perhaps one of the more masturbatory shows I've seen, which follows like a fictionalized group of people in 1948 Hollywood trying to make a film, and you know, some of them are gay, some of them are you know, black and mixed race, and the whole sort of thesis of the show is what if Hollywood actually, Jim Parsons is in that, and his character's quite fun and quite terrible. Yeah, it's a weird show. So like the sort of thesis of the show is, what if people made a film that had a black lead in 1948 and you know, an openly black mixed race gay couple held hands at the Oscars, wouldn't that change the world? And you know, No, that wouldn't. It wouldn't happen. It didn't happen because of a whole bunch of factors, which are beyond a very sort of vulgarized, idealist view of the world, which is where I'm going to sort of draw connections between the long-termism stuff, because long-termism basically has a whole bunch of shit about value locking, where values are projected across time and space, and if we just get the right values, then everything will be okay, which is of course not how the world works, if anyone has noticed, and that sort of seems to be a similar kind of ideational view of the world as Hollywood seems to project. But also it's hugely masturbatory, because first of all, it's like, look at how great Hollywood is, the power of Hollywood. Movies can change the world. One is like basically what fucking Dewey Schneebly or whatever, Dewey Finn, Jack Black from School of Rock says, when he's like, one great rock show can change the world, man. And it's like that's what Hollywood is saying. It's like, one great movie can change the world, and you're like, I'm not sure that's true, Hollywood. I'm not sure that is actually the case. I don't think one great movie can change the world. I think it takes a bit more than that. And they keep saying things like, what if we had a chance to rewrite our own story? And the writers might as well have been winking at the screen at that point, going, like we're doing here, aren't we great for rewriting this story and showing the diversity of Hollywood? And you know, you can write a show that has a diverse, cast and diverse themes, and like themes of racial oppression and segregation, and recognize that you are not changing history at the same time. It was a very weird vibe. I did enjoy a lot of the show though. Like lots of the show, lots of it was fun. Like there was lots of charming people and fun characters, and like stupid scenes and lots of fun shit and lots of fun performances. So there was like enough there that I was like, I'm having a good time. And then a scene would come along and I'd be like, oh god, this is masturbatory, isn't it? This is very masturbatory. Yeah, I always thought the one great movie thing was more or less repackaging of Great Man Theory of History. I think there's something to that. It's like what I'm gonna talk about in the EA long-termism video. Is a very epistemologically liberal, individualistic kind of way of viewing the world, which reinforces the very problems that it's seeking to ostensibly address. So it's not, not great, not a particularly solid idea of how the world works. But I think part of the problem with the show, in that is that in order to make the argument that it wants to make, that art, one great movie can change the world, a lot of the characters, they don't act like characters. Their function in the story isn't as characters, but as vessels for certain other character arcs or other themes, which means that you're kind of left like one character is the husband of this woman who and he runs the studio, and he's awful. He's a terrible person. He's racist. He's homophobic. He's all he wants is to make money. He ignores his wife. His wife hates him. And for like 2 episodes, he goes into a coma, and his wife runs the studio. And then he comes back and watches the movie and is like, I understand now. I understand, and I will release this movie despite it being maybe killing the studio, and the wife is like, I love you now. I love you now. And none of this makes sense. if you're like, these are supposed to be characters. This doesn't, like, it makes both, it makes the wife's character arc make less sense. It gives a character arc to a character who shouldn't have one, really. He's a horrible racist bastard, and watching a movie is not gonna fix that. And it's just bizarre. It's like, has bizarre moments like that. Yeah, characters simply as vehicles for a discourse or message, which, yeah, it really makes. What show are we talking about? Hollywood. A show called Hollywood, which is on Netflix. But it weirdly actually undermines the message that the show is trying to make, because suddenly you're like, oh, this isn't believable. This is clearly not how the world works. So what are we supposed to be getting from this? If this is the message you want to give, then clearly these aren't real people. These are just, creations for you to make an argument which doesn't hold up, because these people aren't acting like people would act. So it's kind of weird, and it doesn't make sense. What was the other moment? Oh yeah, the other moment in the show was just weird, where so one of the characters, the sort of main character at first, is he initially has a wife who's having twins, and part of it is that he ends up turning to sex work to support his family, and that's how he gets into Hollywood, because it's like high-end sex work where he meets a lot of producers and stuff, and people who are in the studios, and they end up getting him parts and stuff. And so initially it's framed like, and he doesn't tell his wife, which is obviously bad. If you're doing sex work, you should tell your partner you're doing it. But she treats it like he's cheating on her, and she's sort of framed as being in the right, and he's like, oh, I'm just doing it to try and save my family, all that stuff, like trying to get money. And then it's revealed later on that, like, he realized he doesn't really love his wife. He just feels like he's stuck, and he's trying to, like, make money, and him and his wife have this confrontation, and his wife reveals that the twins aren't actually his. She's been having an affair, and suddenly, like, the wife's character, after saying that, is like, it means that the wife's character is just horrendous now. Like, in retrospect, from that moment, it's just like, it is just an awful, awful person, and is not just like, none of her actions are justified, and it doesn't really make sense of the theme, because like, the theme is that I guess there's a theme that's been like, oh, this industry is really corrosive to personal relationships, but if you wanted to make that claim, like, he never really loved his wife, and his wife didn't really love him, and was having an affair before he was even making it in the industry. What the theme doesn't quite hold up, and it's not even like, it would have perhaps been stronger if the kids were his, and he still made the choice to, like, move forward with his career and let his wife and his kids go. That would have been something. It still wouldn't have been particularly strong, but yeah, that was a really, I think that was quite an ugly part of the show. A lot of the other stuff is just like, this is stupid, and quite masturbatory for Hollywood writers to be writing about how great and powerful Hollywood can be. But that moment there was very, I mean, it's misogynistic, because it frames this character as being like a manipulative, horrible woman controlling the life of this man. unjustly, and it makes her actions make no sense. It's just a bizarre misstep. That was for me the worst part of that show. You ever wonder why media creators don't understand that the media alone isn't the source of the impact, but rather a lot of factors? Yes, it is strange that they don't seem to realise that isn't the main way to inspire, to produce change in societies. One great rock show can change the world. Can't believe I didn't think of School of Rock when I was originally watching that show. I'm reminded of that Harry Styles movie where the wife got her husband and or his boyfriend assaulted by the police as a girl boss moment in retribution for being cheated on. Yeah, that film made me mad. That film made me very mad. I think we talked about that film before. My Policeman, especially that's especially bad because, like we said, that movie was based on a true story where it was not. It was more about the true story. All three of them were in a relationship together, and that's an interesting dynamic to explore. And there's obvious tensions within that, but instead they made like this really boring movie about how it's really the woman who was most harmed in the situation where she called the police on a gay man in the 1960s. Which, you know, to be clear, could have been murder. Could have been like a murder by the police, especially at that time. At the very least, it's the risk of chemical castration. So, you know, not a great moment. Not a great moment for that. Not a real win for feminism when we're sympathizing with those sort of actions. Yeah, that was bad. And also Harry Styles, please stop acting, Harry Styles. I would really like it if either you worked in it, Harry Styles. I know you watch. This is a message to Harry Styles who's in the audience. Thanks for watching, Harry. So you have two options. You need to really work with an acting coach for a few years, and work on how to say words convincingly. And I know it's hard, but you can't just alternate your volume at random intervals and call it acting. It doesn't work. And I appreciate it's hard for you to hear this, Harry. And again, I know you watch. The other option though is just quit. Just quit acting. It's maybe not your thing. You're very popular in the music industry. You know, you've got a lot of money. You can probably just retire now and you'd be fine. You can still make the music. Personally, your music is also, you know, it's fine. It's not the most interesting, but it's more competent than your acting. So yeah, these are your two options, Harry. Just take a bit of time out, you know, chill out. Talk to some other actors, get some lessons, get some tips. And I'm sure you could be vaguely competent at some point. But before you get cast in the next sort of big movie, you're gonna want to know how to use your words and your face in a way that convinces me. Hello, bothered boy. Sorry, we were just giving out a message to Harry Styles there to go to an acting coach. When will Harry Styles and Taylor Swift co-star in the most painfully annoying and terrible movie ever? See, the thing is, I don't think Harry Styles stars in terrible movies. and like the terrible movie sense. I don't think Taylor Swift does either. They star in movies that are mediocre. My Policeman is the problem with My Policeman is like it's terrible in the sense that it's really boring and like the politics of it are fucked. But there's much about it that's competent enough that I would say it lands more towards mediocre than actively terrible. And I don't. So him and Taylor Swift would star in a movie that is just the most aggressively mediocre rom-com you've ever seen, and that would painfully mid. Yeah, exactly. That's what's going to happen at some point, and you have laid of heaven that into existence now. It worked for Shatner. You know, Shatner could actually act though. Shatner has a weird, and the same with like with Nick Cage. They have like weird intonations. They do weird things. Which sometimes doesn't land, but they can actually act. You see them in performances. And you're like, yeah, these are people who can act. They know how to do it. But you put that next to like someone like Harry Styles, and it's like, yeah, this is someone who doesn't understand what they're doing. Like, Shatner can act. Did you like my Mr. Brightside video? Which one was that? Which one was that, Bother Boy? Was that the one you sent me a wee while ago? I'm so bad for keeping up with videos. So unless it was the one that you'd sent me a while ago that I watched, which I did enjoy, I won't have caught it yet. But I'm sure was it one that you sent on stream one time, because I watched that after stream, and I did enjoy that. I was drunk, so I can't say how much I enjoyed it, but I remember enjoying it. Short for yes, yeah. I did enjoy that. Yeah, that was fun. That was funny. Aggressively mediocre Oscar bait. Oh my! You know what I did see? We're gonna talk about this. This might be a controversial opinion. And this is another thing that's quite masturbatory. What's his name? Spielberg's sort of fictionalized autobiographical movie, The Fabelmans. I watched that, and I would say that was a mediocre film. And I do not understand. Like I hadn't really like heard of it before I watched it, and afterwards I read up on the reviews. Now all these breathless reviews of it. What I don't understand it. It was for one thing, much of it was incredibly long. Much of it was very boring. And it just like, a lot of it felt just incredibly masturbatory as well. Like it felt more like Spielberg falling into the mythology of himself rather than actually dealing with his reality. Like it felt like it felt like it wanted to be deeper than it actually ended up being. And like compared with other movies about Hollywood and about like the effect of Hollywood on people and on like the pressures of that, movies like Nope leave it in the dust. It makes it look like pathetic by comparison. A movie like Nope. But The Fabelmans, it just felt really, really like it was competent, because it's obviously, and it's like Spielberg, he's very competent and very skillful filmmaker. But it felt shallow. It felt like it gestured towards a depth that wasn't really there, which was a shame. Nope was fantastic. You should absolutely watch it. Nope was one of the best films I saw last year, hands down, and dealt with similar themes that The Fabelmans dealt with, but in a much more like interesting way. Did I watch the Oscars? No, I did not watch the Oscars. I have better things to do. I did scroll through the Twitter feed looking at the outfits for a bit, and I enjoyed that. Some of the really boring, some of the really bad, some of the nice. I have to say, Pedro Pascal's outfit at the rehearsal dinner, much nicer than his actual Oscars outfit. 100%. You should see Nope. Yeah, Nope's fantastic. The Lighthouse is really good as well. Yeah, delightful. Let's do another track, and then we'll get back to it. Probably won't leave that one on for too long. Not feeling it too much. Hello, is that really you? Thanks for joining us, and thank you. Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about UCU stuff. What does IDW stand for? Intellectual dark web, I believe. I think that's what's being referred to. Yeah, I feel like people could do a really good criticism on the manosphere by forming a character based off IWD cretins. Yeah. Yeah, so folks like Sam Harris or Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, that kind of ilk, who are bad people. Yeah, the UCU stuff is. So I've not read enough of the actual stuff. There's so much fast writing going on out there. But it does feel like even if the leadership of okay, for some context for people who don't know, so UCU is the University Colleges Union. They were just on strike today, after having paused the strike. This was a long-term 18-day strike which had been paused previously for negotiations, and it was done last time with very little consultation through the democratic networks of the UCU. So there was a lot of pushback. A lot of the stuff has been filtered through, rather than democratically, but through the social media channels of the leadership of the union, which is obviously not democratic, because not everyone in UCU is on Twitter. A lot of people who work who are affected by it, who are in the union, which isn't just lecturers, although lecturers do form a big band of it, but also includes administrative staff, any staff, basically any staff who works for the university, who's contracted with the university, cleaning, administrative, security staff. All these people are eligible to be in the UCU, and many of them are, especially after lots of insourcing campaigns a few years ago. So not all of them are on Twitter, and not all of them see the stuff. So rather than going through the official channels, democratic bodies of the union, a lot of stuff is being filtered through the social media accounts of the leadership, and that has resulted in some really dodgy shit going on within the union, like sending questionnaires, ostensibly about getting democratic feedback, but framing the questions within those questionnaires as being really biased towards the position that the UCU leadership holds, which is being criticised, because despite negotiations being about pay and about standards, after all of this, we're being asked to support an agreement which was already rejected a few weeks ago, and that is causing a lot of consternation within the union, and it sucks. It sucks on like the individual dispute level of the things we're fighting for, but in a wider sense, it's fragmenting the union movement within the university, within like the UCU. It's making people suspicious of the UCU as a union. Many people are considering moving to Unison, another big union, which is known for being, not great. But UCU is fucking up so bad that people are thinking of moving unions or not being in unions anymore because it's been seen as so hopeless. So it's really just fucking up a nascent union movement, which previously wasn't that big, but was getting a lot of movement because, the conditions of the university in the UK are fucked. They're really bad. Like really, really bad conditions for all staff. Aside from the higher ups, the professors and the people who have got their safe jobs, they're doing much better. But early career researchers, admin staff, everyone else is not, and there's a lot of radicalism, a lot of movement that can be built within that, which the union doesn't seem to appreciate, to be honest, which fucking sucks. It's not great. So there's been a lot of heavy criticism, and whoops, I just pulled out my microphone stand. every new thing that you hear every new thing that you hear from the UCU, you just think, oh, what is it fucking now? What is it? What are they doing? What shit are we gonna have to deal with? And there's like, just even like my institution, whose branch is quite small but growing, there's a huge amount of unhappiness with what the leadership is doing. And I imagine that's replicated across the board, to be honest, as well. And my institution's different. It is more admin staff and support staff than it is academics, because of the funniness of the institution, which means that I think it has a much my institution seems to have a bit of like a more critical view than others might do, because non-lecturers, non-academic staff often get left out of the whole conversation around UCU in the first place. So they're already primed to be slightly annoyed by it. But then none of this like means everyone who's in the union, well, many people who are in the union are still obviously going out on strike, because what other option is there? Even if the leadership's shit, like, we need to go out on strike because the institutions are fucked. The pay is fucked, the pensions are fucked, the vice chancellors are fucked. Yeah, it's not good, not a good situation. Why don't they just find other methods to speak to people instead of being off Twitter? Are they doing? And I think there's a image being passed around the higher ups that social media is a means to democratically engage with people. And what I think it means is, because the union has all the institutional power of like having a Twitter account, having like access to all these means of communication, it allows them to push a certain viewpoint heavily within those frameworks, without going through the democratic bodies, the HEC and stuff like that, which allows them to have more power and all that stuff. But yeah, it's not great. My whole Twitter feed is people being like, yeah, this is fucked. This is fucked. This is just fucked. I don't know, there's some people who are like, but the strike may be paused. On Friday it's decided whether strikes on Monday to Wednesday go ahead. And obviously lots of staff who are like, well, we need to know, are we able, or do we have to prepare lessons, or do we have to go to work on these days? And we need to know this stuff before the weekend. So we're kind of stuck here, and which obviously is also not great. So yeah, that's not good to see, unfortunately. Hiya Sinan, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. We were just talking about UCU and how great they are, and how great they're doing, and how no one's mad at them. See you later, Bothered Boy. Thanks for popping by. Always a pleasure to see you. Two or three scripts. You've always got so much writing. I don't know how you do it. Every time you're here, you're like, yeah, I've just got like 2 or 3 scripts to go. Just been writing about 4 or 5 scripts that I've got going on. I don't know how you do it. I got like one thing I can do, and then my mind goes. Costume design and everything. Fucking hell. You know whose video I do need to watch, and I need to make a special effort to watch, is the Leftist Cook's new video. Everyone has been saying how good it is, and I just, I really want to watch it, because I'm sure it is great, and I need to watch that one. One of them is you doing a 3-hour long video on HBO's Rome, Is HBO's Rome good or bad? Yeah, Critical Revolt. Everyone is just saying how good it is, and I need to get around to watching it. HBO's Rome is very good. Okay, well maybe consider. I'll put that on the list of things to watch. Yeah, everyone is saying that it's making them cry, and I'm like, it's not gonna make me. I won't cry. Yeah, I'll have to watch that. What I have started watching, is I've caught up on Critical Role's. I wanted to catch up on the actual D&D play before I watched season 2 of Vox Machina. So I have finally done that, and now I started rewatching The Legend of Vox Machina, the first season. So now I'm excited to start watching the second season as well. Because I've been enjoying Critical Role quite a lot. I will say of Liam, if anyone who doesn't, one of the characters, Liam O'Brien, his character, he just needs to stop trying to be dramatic, because his dramatic stuff is all really boring. He's so much better when he's not being dramatic. And when he's not being dramatic, his character's great. But if he just toned down the dramatic stuff, it would have been so much. His character would be so much better. But aside from that, I'm very much looking forward to watching the rest of Vox Machina. Yeah, season 2 suffers from season 2 of HBO of Rome. Season 2 suffers from compressed timescale and the fact that the show was cancelled, and also gets Egypt and Cleopatra very wrong. I know so little about the history of Rome and Cleopatra and all that stuff that it would pass by me. Whatever. I don't trust TV shows to tell me history, so I can just be like enjoying, Cleopatra, she drove a car. Yeah, whatever. Fuck it. She can drive a car. She's Cleopatra. They skip Caesar's funeral. It sounds like you know a lot more about ancient Rome than I do. Am I all the way caught up? Have I seen Campaign 2? I have watched the end of the storyline with the Chroma Conclave, the Conclave of Dragons, and just started where a new character is introduced. That's where I'm at with the streams, with Critical Role streams, which I just assume will be where Vox Machina season 2 ends up. It would be weird if it didn't. You come on stream sometime and Sinan and talk about Julius Caesar's funeral. That'd be fun. Any adaptation of Cleopatra is depressing, as women who had a reputation for being a smart and capable stateswoman rival to Augustus is always reduced to sexual manipulation. Yeah, patriarchy be patriarchy, isn't it? Not great. Yeah. I'm gonna change the music because this song is I'm not feeling it. I'm afraid I'm not feeling it. Yeah, sorry, I'm not feeling that one either. I can't find something I'm enjoying. See you later, Riley. Thanks for hanging out. Bear with me here. We'll find something. None of that was sticking for me. I was trying to do something different, but nothing was sticking. writing a fucking Cure song or something. Don't know what that is. It's alright. I'm more happy with that than I was before. That's more listenable. More talk. You can talk to that. There we go. There we go. It's a little bit post-punk, isn't it? Yeah, kind of Cure vibes. Something else. Feel like you know those ones that are those like TikTok people who like put on that affectation when like the TikTok musicians who put on their affectations and do like covers of songs in different genres. Then they all talk like this. It's like, here's a song I've got for you. It's what you got to do is get a little bit of guitar, then get a little bit of drums, then get a little bit of vocals, make it sound like a sad boy on an afternoon on Sundays. That sort of shit. It sounds like the sort of thing that they would make and post to TikTok. Have I listened to Little Yachty's new album? I haven't. Not listened to that. I need to get back on the new music grind. I've been focused too much on writing and on doing shit that I've fallen behind on new music and everything. I need to get back on that. Who was I listening to? There was someone I was listening to a while ago, the other day that was good. No rap at all. That's cool. So it was time finding the key. Just a simple G minor, isn't it? There's only two chords. G minor and F major. Not much to it. It's got a bit of a hook though. I can do that. I need to get back into making music. No, you know what? My next job is getting a passport. That's what I need. For 2 years, my passport has been out of date. And I think I can finally afford to pay the 75 quid to get a new passport. Soon I will be able to leave the country again, which will be grand. I've been invited to stay with a friend in Portugal at some point. 100% doing that. And my supervisor has said need to go out to Italy to do some stuff with him. So need to get a passport for that. That's my job for the weekend. Getting a passport, a blue passport. Thank you, Brexit. Feel free to clip that and use it in any context. John says, "Good job, Brexit, for the blue passport." Yeah, we are. It's been out of date for so long. It's so expensive. It's like £75 to renew it. Fucking so much effort, so much money. Just let me leave the country without one. It's fine. I was once at a should I say this? Okay, I'm gonna say this. This might be risky. So one of the current higher ups of the British Sociological Association at the moment was given a talk a few years ago about they are a supposed decolonial. Well, not supposed. They've done lots of good work in decolonial work. And they were given a talk. A friend of mine was chairing. And during this talk, this person said that they weren't in favour of abolishing borders. And I was like, that's an odd stance. What was our justification for it? And the justification was that borders apparently stop white people from colonising. And I just don't think that's true. Actually, I don't think history nor hi Aki, and how's it going? Nor present world existence supports that position. And it was an astounding thing for someone who's a massive name in decolonial work to come out and say. The other thing that was said during this talk, again, I'm deliberately not saying this person's name because that could go bad for my career. I don't want my career to be over before it started. The other thing this person said was that we needed to decolonize the university, which is lots of people say this. I think there is. I'm unsure how much you can really decolonize an institution like the university. I think that the university as a framework is probably something that needs to be overturned in its entirety. It can't really be decolonized, especially while most Western universities hold land and stocks in arms dealers, arms manufacturers, and charge rents for so much stuff. The reason my university is in such was in such big trouble during the pandemic, during the lockdown, pandemic is still ongoing, during the lockdown, was that they ran out of rents to charge people during that time. But this person who was giving this talk said that their argument was that they needed to decolonize the university by bringing it back 10 years. Now at this point, this was 2021, and 10 years before 2021 was 2011. Quick maths from me. And that was after austerity had started. That was 30 years later than even the neoliberal university was like really getting going. So it's not that didn't even follow from, like, the argument was like, oh, we need to demarketize it, decommodify education, which we do. That is true. That is absolutely the case. But 10 years ago is not a legitimate bar to place that decommodification to. It's after a whole load of tuition fees were added on. It was an utterly bizarre talk, bizarre conversation. But I got a little bit of frustration because I'm presenting at this conference, the BSc, of which this person's a higher up. And it cost me overall £165 to register and get my membership for the BSA, so I could present, which is not an accessible amount of money for people. It's massively exclusionary to so many people. And this was the discounted rate for people who are early career researchers or on low incomes. So it made me think when I paid that money and knew that this person was a higher up. It made me think, are you really that concerned about decommodifying education if this is what's going on? If you're not willing to put your foot down or disassociate with an institution that is charging so much money to people to come and present at their conferences, how concerned are you about the decommodification of education in that sense? And the obvious analysis of this situation is that the class position of a superstar academic is compromised because they're money. They have a lot of money, a lot of investment, a lot of prestige drawn from the institutions that even if they're critiquing, still have a vested interest in. So, there's a limitation at work here, isn't there? I found that not enjoyable, not encouraging. Yeah. Kean said Cabral's class suicide, exactly. And yeah, great stuff. My supervisor advised me to try and get into the conference for a second day for free, which I'm probably going to try and do. So I'll have 2 days in Manchester coming up, which will be fun. I've never been to Manchester before. Yeah, there was one young person who did the very brave thing of openly disagreeing with them and telling them they were straight up wrong. Yeah. It was really strange. Like the unit, both of these things they've stuck in my mind so long because they're such. It's not just wrong, but like wrong in a really weird way. That's like clinging to the intellectual view of being anti-commodification of education or or decolonial, but without fucking actually dealing with the problems. Yeah, weird. Hate to break it to you, but you're probably not going to have a career in academia if you're not a sociopath. I don't think that's true. As much as the academic system is not great, I do in fact know many academics who are not sociopaths. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that's true. Fortunately, I don't think that's true. Yeah. I think universities could probably theoretically be decolonized, but it would require a fundamental uprooting of what the university, the individual institution in question and concept is. Yeah, I mean, so when I say I don't think the university can be decolonized in any meaningful sense, basically we're not saying that no educational institutions could exist that deal with particular things. I think lots of educational institutions, the obvious, like education can exist, but the fundamental logic of the university is exclusion of education from certain people, and creating hierarchies of educational attainment, valuing different educations based on things. I think a good example of that, like Oxbridge shit is like the forefront of that shit, of projecting it through the entire culture of university. And I don't think that while those institutions exist, that such thing would be overcome. I hate to go down this road, but I just think we need to burn them all down. And theoretically, Mr. Policeman, yeah. I mean, I love what I do, and I love teaching, I love writing and researching. But the unmistakable truth of of it is that these are not good institutions, and to stick to a political praxis a revolutionary political praxis, needs an acknowledgement that these institutions need to be burnt down, theoretically. Yeah, academia doesn't own education or knowledge or research. It doesn't. It doesn't morally or theoretically. Unfortunately, the material sort of reality of that is that the university is a means through which education becomes education or knowledge becomes owned, and that's very obvious through, like, it shouldn't be, but it is. It's very obvious through my research. And one of the things I struggled with, and have struggled with, is that when talking to activists, basically what I'm doing is taking their knowledge and forming it into something that is commodified within the university for the purposes of their profit and the purposes of my advancement within the institutions. And in some cases I feel less bad than others, because there are mutual agreements between people, people I know, and who would use my knowledge, and that's fine. It's mutually reciprocal. But there's some cases where it's just not as straightforwardly reciprocal as that, and that is a regressive relation. It's not. Yeah, the way that knowledge gets taken, commodified, packaged, and resold by the university, lending the knowledge that has been available to activists for a long time, and giving it a veneer of legitimacy just because I wrote it in a PhD, and then will probably publish to some extent afterwards. It's fucked up. Like, it's not good. That's not a good system. And I don't see, even if we decommodified education, that feature would still exist, unfortunately. So these institutions need to be fundamentally, I just think, fundamentally torn down and set on fire, theoretically. I don't condone physically setting fire to university buildings. Yet. I hate to break it to you, but you probably aren't going to have a career in academia if you aren't a podcaster. That, I don't know how serious your that comment is, but it's becoming more and more true. And so many academics are having to supplement incomes with podcasts and Substacks and fucking YouTube, because the job market's so precarious and so bad. So yeah, you probably, that's like, there's some level to the truth to that you might not actually be able to have a job anymore in academia without a podcast. And it's a sad fucking truth. Employment panels look at your public facing reach, and if you have a public facing reach such as a YouTube channel or a podcast, then that actually helps your academic career to some extent. Mine might not, because I've talked about some things that are which may court controversy, notably calling Israel a genocidal settler colonial state hell-bent on the continued destruction of Palestinians and Palestine. That view is not at all universally loved within the university education system, and might not be too great. Probably not as bad in sociology and politics. That sort of view might not get you a job. But yeah, the having Twitter followers, I've heard from multiple academics who've been involved in hiring panels that having 10,000 plus Twitter followers puts you in a significantly more advantageous position for a job. Not good. Not a good sign. Not a good sign. These institutions are so resilient because of the way they co-opt and envelop ideas, envelop ideas that oppose them back into the institution itself. Exactly. I think that is exactly correct. And I think that is reflected by the sheer volume of dog shit academia out there. So much bad work. And even some of the good work gets repackaged as research, not as something that is a political praxis. And worth building into political practice. And part of it is that academics oftentimes just aren't involved in political work outside of academia. And that's reflected back in strikes. I've seen multiple cases of people who have been, who've seen professors who are publishing books on strike action and the history of labour struggles, who are self-professed Marxists crossing picket lines. That's what academia does to people. The disengagement and distance from the movements that they purportedly are part of without actually being involved in generates this sort of distance, which allows them to do things like cross picket lines and call themselves Marxists at the same time. It's a hard, and like I understand why people would be like that. There is a distance that is driven by the institution and the pressures at work. That doesn't justify it, but I understand it, and it's fucked. I'd love Josh Mayer's new book. Yeah, Cian, put that in the group chat. I will bookmark that. Disciplinary issues too. Decolonising of the universities requires a complete change in what history, sociology mean to whom for what. Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest example being anthropology. I would say, despite its claims, it's never really escaped its voyeuristic gaze, in my view, anthropology. I'm a big supporter of guerrilla higher education direct action. We need to separate ourselves from academia. I mean, part of the reason why I do this is to provide a level of education, or at least political knowledge outside of those systems. But I still reproduce that stuff in a certain sense. But doing what we can. One of the best things about strikes, actually, is the teach-outs. I think the teach-outs are something that should be... It'd be interesting to do some work in not formalising, but making regular things like teach-outs, where people are able to just stand in a university quad or in a cafe and just teach and talk about what they want, and something that's not as hierarchical. Teach-outs are some of the most interesting stuff about strikes. Is when a lecturer or someone does a teach-out and they get to talk about something they're really fascinated about, and they're much less worried about the hierarchical relationship between themselves and the students and those things. It's really and doing things like bringing poetry into discussions of Hobbes and things like that. That's just interesting. But as soon as the strikes are over, you go back to these very hierarchical, very static understandings of how to teach, which is a shame. I would like to see more of that stuff. Even post Musk Twitter, yeah. I am unsure about even post Musk Twitter. That's why I've been spending less and less time on Twitter, more and more just trying to do some TikTok shit, which is depressing. I don't like trying to build a platform on TikTok, and I think TikTok is even worse for providing bad epistemic processes than Twitter. The thread function is useful on Twitter. I'm a scientist, and there's a weird, unrealistic fixation on avoiding politics, both in one's work and outside of it. So it's the lack of wider political understandings within science is an interesting and long-standing problem. I think, in returning to EA stuff, I think there's a slightly different point, but the way that EA and long-termism seems to work is by rationalizing the world in a very sort of pseudo-scientific way. They try to do that avoidance of politics as well. It's very neoliberal. It's very like we are just analysing the world scientifically. This is science, this is rationality, this is not politics. Politics is something different, and that obviously leads to some fucked up places. And with EA, like the effective altruism. McCaskill's book on doing good better contains epistemic. I know I'm using the word epistemic a lot tonight. It's just because it's on the brain. But a sort of epistemic framework which produces a whole load of eugenicist problems for disabled people, particularly in the context of the pandemic. Now, this book was published well before the pandemic, but those processes, those frameworks were still in play before the pandemic and should have been aware to anyone who's... McCaskill is a fan of Peter Singer, which is a red flag, because Peter Singer is a horrendous eugenicist. But if I was writing a book and self-consciously invoking Peter Singer, I would grapple with the critiques of him that he's a terrible eugenicist, and maybe consider, what if this framework that I'm inheriting is also eugenicist? That is not a consideration which is ever made. But I think that's part and parcel of this view of like rationalizing and making a performance of scientism, and separating that from politics and wider society. A long history of liberal Western modes of knowledge that go through Descartes, that go through John Stuart Mill, Jeremy Bentham, through the neoliberals very, very clearly, and emerge within the effective altruists in a way which is, in my view, inescapable within that framework. Yeah. Sorry, that was a bit of a diversion. Do you think part of it is academia encouraging academics not to think of themselves as workers? I think that I'm not sure that's true. I think academia does. I think lots of people in academia do consider themselves as workers. I think that there's just a general class position, and the power of class within academia to structure the rest of the way people interact with it is really strong. Because, and like historically and currently, those with most power, those with most position, most prestige, most respect, are hugely most likely to be upper class. Just the other day at an event at my university, I was there with my supervisor and this one poor woman who had just joined the institute, and was like, and at one point she turned to me and was like, I wasn't expecting everyone here to be so old. Because every professor that had been trotted out, Professor Emeritus, plus 70, plus 75, all of them, at the very least, privately educated. Some of them I know, boarding school educated. And I was standing there with my supervisor. Neither of us are. Neither of us are from like working class backgrounds, really. Damien, my supervisor, much more so than me, is from I think from a more working class background. But still, being in a situation where you recognise that everyone around you is in an immensely better class position, not just because of the job they hold, but because of their entire lives, is a big illustration of the issues of academia. And I don't think that's a unique perspective. Finn Townsley saying, I get you, I'm in archaeology, and to be honest, we never really stopped looting. We just do a lot more paperwork at the same time. That is interesting. I would like to hear more about that, because it's not something I know a whole lot. Like, I know about lots of histories of museum stuff, and I know about some current attempts to deal with it, and to deal with it, and the limitations and how limited and fractured those attempts have been. But I would be interesting to hear more about the histories of and the currents within archaeology of looting and the use of paperwork and bureaucracy to obscure the continuation of a colonial system. It's interesting. What do I think of Grossvogel's pluriversity idea? I have read Grossvogel's work. I would have to reacquaint myself with the pluriversity idea before I give a really firm answer on that. I think that might be something, actually. I think I might reread my Grossvogel, because I think the pluriversity idea contrasts nicely with the long-termist idea of value convergence. A lot of the McCaskill's long-termism, the argument being made is that there may be a point, the argument being made is that this current moment is a point when values are becoming locked in. To be clear, this is nonsense. It's not based on any historical theory, any sociological theory. It's nothing. But the argument is that values are going to get locked in, and we're going to get an ideological convergence, an end of history style, fucking Francis Fukuyama style fucking thing. It'd be interesting to read back on Grossvogel and see the pluriversity and contrast those ideas with pluriversity. Compare someone who's a proper thinker to this work. Sorry, that's not a solid answer to that question, but it has made me think about doing something which is useful. TikTok is so much worse than Twitter. Because if you tweet a bad opinion, it takes like 10 seconds, but the folks who have 15 minutes to record a political opinion, they're committed. I think some of the problem with the problems with TikTok. I mean, it goes back to some of the stuff I talked about on my internet epistemology video, where I talked about like debate and all that stuff. The platform pressures of TikTok are slightly different from Twitter, I think. Where, because you're filming yourself, you kind of feel like you have to be interesting and snappy to get the attention. Much more like that exists on Twitter, but it feels much stronger on TikTok. And people the views rack up so much more, and you get the Nazis involved. There's so many fucking Nazis on TikTok. It's wild. Any political opinion, and they're there within seconds. I just think it's not a good platform, and if Twitter wasn't actively dying, I would not be moving on to it. Another thing is, radical theorists like Judith Butler, and to be honest, I'm not really surprised. I'm surprised by Judith Butler donating to Kamala Harris. That doesn't surprise me that much. It doesn't surprise me that much. It surprises me more than Wendy Brown donating to Warren, because Wendy Brown's, to my knowledge, not a communist or anything, not a Marxist. Her work on neoliberalism is good and useful. I have disagreements with it, naturally, but to my knowledge, she's not a Marxist. And Elizabeth Warren seems like someone who would be very consistent with Wendy Brown's views. If I'm gonna be totally honest about it. Judith Butler donating to Kamala Harris is slightly more surprising, though not that much more surprising. Sinan's saying a lot of scientists are what I'd describe as politically bald. Does anyone in chat not know what politically bald is? And if so, Sinan, would you like to type out in chat your quick definition of politically bald? Because I enjoy politically bald as a thing that exists, as a thing, a sociological phenomenon. Oh man, sorry, I'm falling behind in chat. Let me try and catch up. How many folk are here, by the way? Let me just check how many folk are here before I try and catch up on chat. Not that many, only about 29. Not our biggest stream, but you know, it's been nice. Follow-up question. Would love to hear more about your estimation of the possibilities of organising in the professional managerial class, if that's even a meaningful framework. I don't really think the professional managerial class is a particularly useful framework. I think there are tensions between. Hello, why did let me get your name right since it's your first time. I'm so bad with letters squeezed together. Why did the tilde? Welcome to your first one. We're just chatting about the university and the professional managerial class apparently. Yeah, I've never really read much that has convinced me of the value of the professional managerial class as a particular social character, social category. I think there are tensions within working classes, and I don't tend to draw firm boundaries between what would be considered working class or what would be considered like petty bourgeois or bourgeois. I think these categories are more porous than lots of people consider. I think that's something. My name is Squished. I know it does. It's the feature of. It's the feature of the handles. I'm not saying it's bad too. I'm just saying I have trouble reading it. I'm mixed because of what I suspect is undiagnosed dyslexia and bad eyesight. But yeah. I think there's a more porous distinction than some people are willing to admit between different social categories like that. I think if you're organising a PMC class, there are fractures and disconnects within a broader working class or subaltern class, and that's clear. You can see that within movements that deal with within trade unions, which deal with a variety of different industries. Whether that is those, say, like, while it was still doing good work, international work, IVW, which organised like outsourced cleaners, but also architects. But there was tension within those, sectorial tension between those two groups, because some had much more class privilege between others. And like a very vulgarized Marxist view would say, oh, they're all drawing wages, so they're all workers. But that, like, at some point, that distinction, that category becomes meaningless, because there's clear distinctions between these two groups of people. And that's when you've got to consider the social relations between capital and labour aren't just one single class relationship, but a variety of social relations, which include things like gender, race, disability, any number of other social relations, which create a diverse and disaggregated subaltern classes, so organising The problem is organising connections between those disaggregated classes, and that can happen, and it's something that should be worked on to build a wider movement and between movement building. Like, UCU would be an interesting one to do it when, because there's massive class differences between huge segments of those of people who work in universities. I think we've seen failures within that union in dealing with those massive class disaggregated features. And it's even true within the academic sector. I have so much more precarity, than a professor. And can we meaningfully organise for our interests in the same way? Perhaps not. Perhaps it takes a more sharp tool to draw connections between different types of worker. It's an interesting question, and I think one that can only really be answered via actual organising, labour union organising. See you later, Sinan. Sorry I missed Sinan's goodbye. Fintime's like, well, since I'm limited to 200 characters, I can only cover so much. Generally speaking, the discipline, this is on archaeology and looting. The discipline is trying to grapple with it, and I agree that recording is required if you're going to excavate, as it is an inherently destructive act. The issue comes in that most digs are conducted by Western firms looking to record and catalogue the finds, often to be moved to Western museums. So far, so unsurprising. Ownership is an ongoing question, as it's not totally clear in a lot of cases. And I will admit it is a complex topic. However, I wouldn't agree with a large portion of the discipline that simply keeping a record hand ownership to the common good as what is recorded requires pre-existing epistemic frameworks, and that isn't always what the culture in question would care about. Yeah, so I mean that seems pretty consistent with everything I've heard so far about it. And obviously the complexities come about when a culture has competing claims on particular issues, where some cultures have been wiped out, don't exist anymore. There are difficulties there. It does seem like a lot of, or some of the time, there is a way in which these truths are exaggerated by people who just want to maintain the existence of Western museum systems. Starlight Wintermute is saying, I do labour organising with software engineers, so I deal with this question too. For me, what works with privileged workers is recognising the way we're exploited. Solidarity is having a common enemy. That is true. Sometimes, though, the people who are being exploited are also like, I do free labour for professors. We're both being exploited by the university, but I'm also being exploited directly by, some professors. So there's commonality and disaggregation within that as well, which is an issue. It's something that's hard to deal with. Solidarity is having a common enemy, exactly, yeah. Alright, remember that book which said managerialism reproduces fascism, the fascist nature of neoliberalism, I think? Was that really weird book, Kian, that I read about a year ago? I think that was. I think I remember that, and I think that I then remember that being an unconvincing and really strange book. And even just the sentence what are you talking about? Jesus Christ. My sister works at the Oxford Natural History Museum, and she told me that a skeleton they have on exhibit is just someone they found while digging the foundations in the 1800s. Now, I'm going to say, at risk of people finding this, I will say we should burn down Oxbridge. Not theoretically. Not theoretically. Why do I only ever notice you're streaming after multiple hours? Maybe the YouTube algorithm hates me. We'll draw it, put it down to that. Let's do another song though. Let's get another wee tune going. Just need to tuning time. That's fun. I quite like that. I appreciate it. It does. It is a bit Red Hot Chili Peppers. Whoever said that in the chat. Someone's saying, do you mind asking a question of Israel in your recent Pride video? Was from one of the sources in an earlier video. I thought it might have been. Yeah, feel free. I'm very comfortable to be asked about questions on that, and I can only answer them as clearly as I can after two-thirds of a bottle of wine. Yeah, of course. I'm open with my opinions on Israel-Palestine, as is evidenced. Yeah, what video was it that Crossfrog? It might have been the internet epistemology video that referenced Crossfrog. I remember reading it and thinking this is really good stuff. But I do need to reread it. One of the impacts of one of the valuable things about doing YouTube is you get to read a bunch of stuff, much more than I would ever have read otherwise. But you do forget a lot of it. My brain is like a sieve. I'm terrible for remembering facts and stuff. Thank you, Lemmy Regnick. I was very, very pleased with that. It's still not done quite as well as I hoped it would. But the reactions to it have been very, very positive. I'm very pleased with it as a video. But yeah, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Have you heard much about the AUKUS nuclear submarines deal? I haven't heard much of that, I'm afraid. I recognise the name, but I can't speak to its details. Anything involving nuclear submarines, I don't really feel good about unless it's disarmament of them. Otherwise, anything that's not that, I get. I get unnerved. When I shared the video with a fan, they criticised it for with your fam, they criticised it for not addressing the Holocaust as a motivation for establishing Israel. Any idea how you might respond to criticism like that? Ultimately, there's no real bearing on the reality of ongoing Palestinian genocide. It's true. It's also that the Holocaust and the wider anti-Semitism within Europe was a motivation, but it's also a product of similar trends. That European colonialism as part of those same systems which produce the same oppressions. I don't think this is an entirely different question, I think, to the one being like at what point, at what particular relevance to the question of specifically Palestinian the genocide of Palestinians does the motivation for it really matter. You can say that there's a political point to speaking with people to try and disentangle why support for Israel exists, which is based on continued anti-Semitism and fear from inherently anti-Semitic societies that still exist across Europe. But it doesn't justify it. It doesn't justify doesn't justify colonialism. I think that there are more complex entanglements of Israel as a project of European colonialism that are worth disentangling on an analytic level. But in terms of what relevance would that have to the question that Israel is actively, is in its very construction a genocidal state? None, I'm afraid. Like, a motive, like, I do think, no, I think, I don't think, yeah, I think that you agree as well. I think it depends on who, I think it also depends on who you're talking to. If you're talking to someone who is Jewish, how you navigate Zionism, because it's a really big part of a lot of Jewish communities, particularly in Britain, and how you navigate trying to get people to confront the realities of it is a difficult question, which you will have to navigate, like, the deep, justified fear of the Holocaust. But in terms of what the actual arguments within that specific piece are, that's a slightly different question. Like, if you want to, I would not accept that if someone came to me and was like, "This is a good video, but I have this criticism that you didn't mention the Holocaust," I'd be like, "This is not a relevant critique of this specific argument," and bringing it up is an odd reaction. If you were trying to, though, talk to someone about the realities of Zionism, then you're gonna have to confront that stuff, and you're gonna have to confront it in a really careful, considered way. Michelle H saying, I do feel like a lot of this is a Jewish inter-community discussion, but it's one I've seen a lot of Jewish leftists and anti-Zionists talk about and express frustration with. Yeah, I agree, and it's also one I also seen Jewish anti-Zionists and anti-Zionists talk about their frustration with. And it's not like it is a really. Sometimes I think there is a blaseness that some people approach Jewish anti-Zionists with, where they talk about where people maybe don't appreciate that taking an anti-Zionist position in certain Jewish communities means an exclusion from your own community, and that is not an easy thing. That is not an easy thing to do, and that's not obviously justifying hedging on the specific issues, but it means people approach it and try to deal with it in ways that the centrality of Zionism to a lot of mainstream Jewish communities. Yeah, I mean it's true. Like, and a lot of the anti-Zionist Jewish people find it really difficult to deal with, and it's a really hard thing. Yeah, and Kian, you are right. You can trace all that stuff. It's all clear. It's not distinct. That's what I mean when it's not distinct of the same sort of imperialist, colonialist endeavours, which are entangled with similar logics, which produce horrendous, like, horrors. I think that the questions of how to deal with that, if you are a Jewish person, are much more complex than if you are non-Jewish. If you're non-Jewish and just talking about this thing with other people, you're not risking you being extradited from your community and excluded. You're not risking family and friendship relations. And obviously that pales in comparison to Palestinians who are being actively pushed from their land and destroyed as a people, but it's still a real personal issue that you have to deal with. That is not something to be sniffed at, and there is a certain blaseness that sometimes creeps in, which doesn't necessarily to non-Jewish people's descriptions of how people should react within intra-community debates, which doesn't necessarily account for that. The attitude among non-Jewish leftists interrogating Jewish people on Israel and mentally lumping them into good and bad Jews doesn't help and is just blatantly anti-Semitic. Yeah, I mean, that's true as well. I'm so articulate? Fucking hell, that's a miracle. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So fundamentally, to answer that question, within the confines of the argument I presented in the you're not too, don't worry. Good, that makes sense. Within the confines of the argument presented in the video, it just doesn't hold a particularly strong relevance to that argument. Because at no point do I talk about why the state was set up and why the state was forged is not necessarily relevant to the genocide that is ongoing at the present time. But that can be a separate question to how you actually convince people of the position. I hope that makes sense to you. H-O is that HQ? Sorry, I can't read that. H-O. Yeah. Good. I'm glad it does. I'm not sure I mentioned it. This is the product of conversations. So my partner is Jewish as well, and this context I didn't want to include in the video for because it's not my story to tell in terms of how she interacts with it. But we have obviously had lots of conversations about this. And sort of my reaction is born of those conversations. Did this have a specific topic to cover? Is it general? No, it's completely general. Sometimes these streams, they only have specific topics if it's just after a video has been released, then I talk about the video and then just fucking rant for a bit. I have been meaning to get more. I want to get Sinan on to talk about stuff. I've been looking to get other folk to come on and chat, but I've just been so busy. I've not had a chance to get folk on, unfortunately. But no, it's just whatever. Any questions, anything you want to chat about, we're here. We're here until we finish the wine. What type of wine did I get? It was £5 from Sainsbury's, called Phantom River. Can't remember if I've had it before, but it's not bad. Hello, what's therapy? We'll probably do one more tune, and I'll make it a more upbeat one, After a while, that'll be the last tune of the evening. We've still got plenty of wine to get through anyway, so more questions and more shit to deal with. I'm happy. We're keeping things chill. We're being nice tonight. I like these streams a lot. They you know what would make this wine taste better? More ghost puns in the label. You know what would probably make the wine taste better? Would probably be some frozen grapes. I don't know if anyone knows, but if you freeze a grape and put it in your wine, you can actually cool it down without diluting it, which is really, really useful in summer. And when summer comes around again, and when it is unbearably hot in London, I will probably be doing that again. Kian read the Zionist theorist Max Nordau's book, The Generation, a while back, and as you know, very bad. Yeah, don't expect... I mean, at this point, you can't really expect much Zionist work to be anything other than horrendous. Hi, John, do you like paintings? If so, any paintings in particular you like? I do like paintings. I'm not much of an art fiend. I'm such a fucking basic bitch when it comes to art. I like the Impressionists. My Kindle cover. My Kindle cover is fucking Starry Night. I'm a basic bitch in that regard. Am I Scottish? I am Scottish, yeah. Paintings are like... you know what? Here's something. So I don't know, I don't remember, I'm terrible with remembering names of anything. So if I saw a painting, I'd be like, I like this painting. I've got some nice paintings up on my, some nice prints up on my wall there. Hokusai, I believe, which I like. But there was when I was last at the portrait gallery, Scottish Portrait Gallery, Scottish Art Museum, can't remember. There is a lovely painting by an artist called John Duncan, which depicts there are two 20th century artists called John Duncan who were Scottish. I am hard to find. If you could go just John Duncan, there's so many of us. But this John Duncan did a painting of it's a really interesting painting of a soul being carried over from the Western Isles, and it was like it mixed together some like a Christian influence and some like Pictish, Scottish historical influence. Andrewism's celebrating 100k. Oh, well done, Andrewism. No, 100% deserves it. Great channel. And it's like old pre-Christian gods, and there's a lovely seal in it, and it's like got lovely gold frame. That's a really nice picture. Surprise, John Duncan is such a rare name. Yeah, it's so rare. There are so few John Duncans. I really liked your video talking about intra-British colonialism and where Scotland placed itself in that debate. Just wanted to say, as a Welsh person, thank you. I've heard that quite a few times from Welsh people, which is interesting because I don't know all that much about Welsh independence or the Welsh independence movement, but a few times I have spoken to people about it, and the trends, I guess unsurprisingly, appear very, very similar to that of Scottish nationalism, which is interesting. But you know, it's always interesting to hear people talk about that. I heard there's more sheep than people in Scotland. I think you're thinking of New Zealand. there's plenty of sheep. I like sheep, but I think there's probably more people in Scotland than sheep. Then, Will's talking about the problem of bringing up, trying to deal with anti-Semitism when groups have suffered from intergenerational trauma. Yeah, and I think that's something that Arab communities is an community issue that they. I can't speak much to it. Unfortunately, I don't have much personal connection to it, but it something that exists. Critical Revolt, I almost did buy a print of it, but my room now there's not really much. It doesn't look this way from this angle, but a lot of there's lots of paintings over this side, and another print might make the room too busy, so I didn't buy one. I almost did though, because I did like that picture. It's different in a lot of cultural and social colonization senses. Yeah, I imagine so. That we're not the same place. Oh, I can try and do that. I don't know how to do that. I can I try to a raid on Andrewism. I don't know how to do that. Yeah, we'll see if it's still going while we're going. All right, let's get another tune going. Let's get our last tune going, and we're gonna make it that's an interesting question, H.O. I think you've talked about the limits of the UN definition of genocide and how there's better, more nuanced theory of genocide. Does ethnic cleansing also fall under genocide in these, or is it something I should just read Damien's book for? I will get back to that after I've made this tune. All right. So let's talk about ethnic cleansing. So the question was, do I think there's a firm distinction between ethnic cleansing and genocide? Discussing beyond the UN definition, which, so for those who don't, for those who maybe not seen, the UN definition of genocide is incredibly inadequate because, and not just from my perspective, but from the perspective of the person who coined the term and actually drafted the Genocide Convention, Raphael Lemkin. And part of that reason is because it omits the central force of colonialism and of cultural genocide as essential features of it. I don't have as firm a grasp on the legal history of ethnic cleansing as a legal category. But in my opinion, which I guess is of some relevance to some people, ethnic cleansing, the distinction drawn between those two seems like a difference without distinction. It feels like something that in my view, there doesn't seem to be much difference between those two things. If you're trying to destroy a people from a particular area, then in those areas I would just consider it genocidal. And I know that about 10 years ago now, maybe the last 10 or 20 years, it was quite fashionable to describe Israeli actions on Palestine as ethnic cleansing and not genocide. And I think I reject that now. And I think those two things are functionally the same. You could probably make an argument saying that an ethnic cleansing might occur as opposed to a genocide when there are other examples of those ethnicities outside of the specific area from which they're being cleansed from, and they're being moved out of those areas, but they still exist as a people. But I'm unconvinced as to how strong that claim is, especially in the context of colonialism, when the land and the people are so connected. So there is probably some wiggle room where someone could make an argument which would convince me to some degree that there is occasions when there's enough distinction to use the different terms. But as a broad general rule, I tend to find that there is as much crossover or more crossover than there is distinction. And that, again though, I haven't read enough on the legal history of the specific term to give a firm definitive answer on that, but I think that it is something I've thought about before, and I think that is a legitimate position for me to get to. So yeah, described with that, as everyone's saying, end of film music. It is a bit end of film. I quite like it. I might save this one and put it on one of the Spotify stream albums that I put out. Would the Trail of Tears be an act of ethnic cleansing instead of genocide? I don't think so. I think that's quite clearly genocidal, because it's connected to the removal of a certain peoples from the land, where the connection to the specific lands in which they exist is a central part of their identity as a people, and as part of a wider process of like a wider settler colonial genocidal process. So I would consider Trail of Tears as a genocidal process. You can maybe argue that there's ethnic cleansing as a tool, as a part of wider genocidal process, at that point, it kind of feels like, why are you not just using the word? Some people argue that the use of the word genocide is overused. I disagree. I think I don't think that's the case. And I don't think it cheapens any other genocides to discuss it as such. I think the suggestion of that is one that has been used consistently by colonial powers to undervalue the lives of the people that they are actively attacking. If that all makes sense. Well, we try and keep going for some slightly lighter questions. I appreciate I appreciate all the questions, and I appreciate that I am the neoliberalism and genocide guy. Not something I was anticipating being when I started this channel almost 4 years ago now. Jesus Christ, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm still not very good at it. Did I study politics? I studied politics in undergrad. I moved on to an interdisciplinary just found your channel. Welcome. So here we do a lot of talk on neoliberalism, genocide, political theory stuff. I started off as an undergrad in politics. Then in my postgrad, I moved to an interdisciplinary postgrad on human rights and international politics, which includes the law component. And I'm just finishing a PhD now in broadly sociology and political theory, I guess. Oh my god, yeah. The Trail of Tears is the indigenous people from southern states of Oklahoma, and the Trail of Death is Midwest to Oklahoma. The story of indigenous US states' destruction of indigenous people is just so horrendously bad. Yeah. And so, Ray, we do these streams where I make a bunch of music, I drink a bottle of wine, I get less coherent as the wine goes down, and we just chat. And the vibe is chill. We're open to questions and everything. We're practicing a radical pedagogy where I get slightly drunk. When do we start calling you Dr. the Junkin? Dr. the Junkin. Sorry. I'm going to insist that you call me Dr. the Junkin once I get the PhD. It's going to be a while yet because so the draft is submitted. Next stages will be my supervisor coming back with amendments, corrections, additional reading, and editing the draft. Bunch of shit like formatting correctly, adding appendices. I think I have to follow up with a few participants to get their consent forms because some of them never returned them, which is annoying. But yeah, all that stuff. And then there is the process of getting examiners, and then getting a chair for the examiner meeting. And all of this is admin stuff, which takes a long time and is a hassle. Post the Viva, assuming PhD Vivas in the UK, they work. About 90% of people get what's known as a pass with corrections, where you pass on the day and you are a doctor on that day, but you don't graduate for a while. And that's, you're given 3 months to do corrections, which can be add in this theorist, read this theorist and add in a few references or sort a few bits here and there. Or it could be rewrite a whole chapter, something like that. Alternative, and that's like 90% of PhD students get to. There is a small chance I get passed with no corrections. I'm not expecting that. I'm not. My attention to detail is not that good, so that probably won't happen. But that's you have nothing to do and you just get the PhD. The thing that you don't want to get is, which is about 5% of folk get a significant corrections, larger corrections, which takes about 6 months. And I don't want to get into that situation. I don't think I will, but it can depend on examiners. Some examiners are dickheads. Just sometimes might happen. In which case it'd be another 6 months on top of that, so maybe about 9 months from now before I'd be considered passed and considered Dr. Junkin. But yeah, so maybe about 4 or 5 months from now, we'll see. Just depends on who the examiners are and how we get on with that. Full submission is in April. I should have a big book to post photos of then. Slightly later, do I have an opinion on conflict transformation as a theoretical perspective and or as a political strategy? Conflict transfer. Could you explain that slightly in chat so I can try and rapidly form an opinion on it? Somerset farmers need people to pick their pears if you're interested. Proper job. Keith Southwell. Thank you, Keith. I do have another job as well. This isn't all I do. I'm also work for the university in a different capacity as well. Don the Junkin, we group chats of mine, Don the Junkin gets brought up quite a lot. I think there's actually a photoshopped image of me somewhere as the Godfather with Don the Junkin written on it. Long-standing bit. People have been doing that for a long time now. That Bear's going to come back with no notes. The professor is going to say, "This is going right to the leader of the world, beyond safer implementation." Exactly. I mean, the last chapter I sent which was the main theoretical chapter, the apotheosis of the theory of the PhD. My supervisor sent back the comments were extremely grammatical and formatty, and the main comment was just stonking stuff. So I am confident in the work, and reading it over, I am quite confident in the work, much more confident than I was about a year ago. So I'm quite confident that it will do that the corrections will be minimal. Really, I'm glad to hear that. I try to take complex topics and make them easy to grapple with, or not easy to some of the stuff is quite. There are some videos that are quite complex, but I try to engage with them in a way that is as simplified as I can without insulting your intelligence, as a lot of people I have found do, especially in academia. They're like, "Oh, this person's not an academic, let's simplify this to such an extent that it's untrue, because how could they possibly understand me?" I try not to do that. Interested in knowing how you became aware of the Israel situation. Don't know how to define it, asking because as an Arab person, since we're not used to seeing people from the West supporting Palestine. How I became aware of it. I couldn't pinpoint a moment on that. being somewhat engaged with sort of left-wing activism and literature for, at this point, about 10 years. Longer than that if you count being in school. I guess it's just kind of consistent part of it. The first time where it became part of what would become my wider sort of work would have been when I was doing a human rights degree. I have a book on my shelf right now called Crimes of War 2, because 1 wasn't enough, which has a massive section on Israel, and reading basically the extent of the crimes committed. I remember being quite illuminating, but it wasn't like, oh, I didn't know about this. It was more like I didn't know the depth of it, and it's just sort of general being something that's been I've been aware of for a while. I don't know. I can't speak to a specific moment. It's just been within a milieu of thought and stuff I've read and stuff I've been involved in as well. Left-wing movements in Britain, at least, any protest always, it usually has a Palestinian flag there. It just seems to be part of it. Glasgow has a big movement of Palestinian solidarity. Celtic have a big movement, and the football club have a big movement in Palestinian solidarity, in part because Rangers, their rivals, are horrendous Zionists. So that's kind of part of it, I guess. That's all I can really say. Am I going to change my YouTube channel to Dr. John the Duncan? I am not going to do that. I will change my Twitter handle for a little while, and I will be insisting that my brothers, specifically my brothers, call me Dr. John when I'm beating them at Trivial Pursuit next Christmas. That's the main reason I'm getting the PhD. My goodwill hunting mark. I might have brought this up already, but have you interacted with cybernetics at all? No, but it was something I was thinking about doing a video of years ago now. I have like some early notes of a video that I was thinking about making of cybernetics, and like tied up with sort of Marxist understandings of science and things like that. But it's not something I ever managed to fully. I don't think the problem with the video was that I didn't. The video idea is I didn't grab a central argument. So I didn't manage to complete the script, because some other YouTubers are content with, and this isn't bad, this is totally legitimate, just like providing education for a particular topic. I tend to want to provide an argument in a particular direction, and I couldn't find the argument, or at least a strong enough argument that could carry a video for long enough. So I dropped the video topic, but it is something that's been at the back of my mind that I have thought about for a while. I think there are interesting things at play. Abby Philosophy Tube has the video on transhumanism, which I think is interesting and could probably be built upon in some interesting ways as well. In terms of like videos and stuff, I might do it at some point. I might get back to it, but yeah. You get a PhD so you can insult other people's intelligence with authority. Not other people, just my brothers. That's it. No one else. Wish there was a cool title for a master's, but there's no way I'm getting it. Yeah, there is. You're master. If you got a master's, you're a master. Master Neil Anderson. You just insist people call you the master. Please do a trans. It's slightly out of my area. So if I do something like that, it would take a while to do because I would have to do a whole bunch of research. I might do it again. I might do it at some point. Probably if it was to happen, it would be post PhD. If I have the time. Yeah. Make all the kids at Storytime call you Master. Exactly. Yeah, make them call you Master Anderson. It's what my partner did, and once when she got her Masters, she changed her WhatsApp photo to the Master from Doctor Who. I respect it, and I have already this may speak to a degree of arrogance. I have already planned my post about it and my phone call to my parents. Should I get past Survivor? And I will be changing my profile picture to the Doctor and just posting the Doctor Who opening credits, and then calling my parents and saying I am the Doctor now. So I might do something stupid like that. Joy Division or S Club 7? Depends on the mood. I both are good. I do like a bit of Joy Division, but I think if I'm gonna go to a party, S Club 7 are good, man. Who doesn't like Reach for the Sky? Reach for the Stars. That's what it is. Conflict transformation is an iteration on the concept of conflict resolution in conflict theory. Basically about giving groups of people non-violent ways of contesting disagreements to de-escalate violent conflict. I'm a little ambivalent on the issue because it might be practical and harm-reducing, but also makes it more difficult to get underlying issues and more systemic critique. Yeah, so as I was reading the first part of that was your final points there was what I would immediately think. In what I know of Truth and Reconciliation Committee stuff, and there's much more of my human rights background stuff. The work on that can be quite superficial because of wider systemic issues. It doesn't mean that it's valueless, but you know who has a very good book? Glenn Coulthard's book on the ways in which reconciliation is used as a tool of continued Indigenous genocide in what is called Canada, is very good for highlighting the problems of that kind of resolution within a system which doesn't fundamentally change, and without. So I'm a prison abolitionist. I believe in restorative justice, but restorative justice especially in terms of wider Red Skin, White Masks. Exactly right. Fantastic book, one of the best books I've ever read. Without a wider systemic overturning of the systems which produce these harms, the reconciliation tends towards a specific direction, which is legitimizing the status quo. So whoever the harmed group is, whoever is the group seeking reconciliation, needs to ensure, red skin, white masks, Kian, come on, keep up. Needs to. I've lost my train of thought. Thanks, Kian. You lost me on my train of thought. I love being mean to Kian. It's one of my favourite pastimes. The oppressed group needs to ensure that the conditions which produced the harms that they experienced are not a factor of the reconciliation to which they've agreed. Otherwise, there is a significant risk of reconciliation being aesthetic and justifying different forms of the continued different forms of continued oppression against them. That would be my basic take on that. That makes sense? Make sure you do a reverse charge phone call to tell your parents, do you accept the charges from a call called Dr. John. That's good. I don't think anyone appreciates how annoying I'm going to be. I'm going to be so annoying. I'm going to be so annoying for at least a few months. When I get this PhD, I'm going to be like, any argument I'm losing, I'll be like, excuse me, that's Dr. John to you. I'm going to be so annoying. The stream when it comes, is going to be fucking messy. We're going to get into a fucking mess. There'll be champagne, there'll be whiskey, it'll be fucking grand. We'll have a great time. Water off a duck's back. Did you put my name in quotation marks, Keaton? What's the point of I guess the point of getting a PhD is so that you can get a job in academia at this point, basically. Whatever. The main point is being annoying. Why would you not utilize that? I love being annoying. It's one of my favorite things. I love making people make this face. I love it. It's great. It feeds my soul on a deep level. When people are like, that sigh in, nourishes me. It's the worst part of me, but I am not going to change. All right, shall we begin wrapping up? We've run out of topics, it seems. It's been a nice stream. We've been going for about 4 hours. I get that feeling from bad puns. Yeah, that's so fun. I like the bad puns are like it's not emotional enough. Bad puns are like, oh, you've done this thing to me. But if you're annoying someone, you can puns have a limited value, is what I'm saying. There are more effective ways to really get underneath someone's skin, especially when it's people you love. Oh, if you love someone and you get them to be annoyed at you, oh, I love it. It's because I'm a bad person. So yeah, let's draw the stream to a close before I embarrass myself. And yeah, cheers for coming along. Always enjoy these streams. They're always good fun, and always a good excuse to make music. Diet annoying, exactly. Yeah. I will put us on to the buy screen and then turn the music up. Cheers for coming along, guys.